Sa nimbola vinaka. Ngalitsika ningona pakambola na unata pangani pakarong tikumikina na yakabinistiki nikua nitaka nirong benaktika na nero na vital no tikunikua ke Dr. Sivendra Michael. Kirosa vital na oti na madha rosa oti ngoi tikitiku ni motivational Monday then singa moniti ni vivakongeti unitaka ni na marotaka monisema menikua na nero tomang talitiku na nero VOC. VOC ni wuli, VOC ni takadaka da marotaka bakalibu ni sulitoko na nonangona turang oso-oso sema sarchik mo ko na yan ni tandra may na tong matinisinga ya da maraw ni rerin rokon toko ni singo bilang ni kuwa sema tiko ko na buno turango o maduata na buno sema kina na nona matabubale da marotaka ni sulitoko na nonangona na kabini singo moniti ni kuwa sa utingo na 5 na 10 corona miniti may biti may tonga na buno sema chikumikino ko sa utingo na wono na 10 corona miniti wiketongo Hawaii sa utingo na vitu na 10 corona miniti na singatam tomberti ko nandona singa nakapakalebu na naronga da madana nonte seri metik butaka na nonte Talanoa nakapakalebu. Sa dorong binakatungan na sergo, da marata ka pakalevo ni da rongo tati ko na serian na bonuan domoni, bosi wiki ma mina tuya ni biti, tu yawa ya ni biti, ndo bakabuna bakalevo na bakananan. Kina nonto panu boleh binaka ni adangi, matumbuna senimile wang kambatan, ndo boleh binaka talaga serima talemembau, binaka bali bikim do na sema tikumai, en kabinikua, en anero may vital na talchungo kay Wunwai Sivendra Michael. Rere na kaya nangonong gomit na wakong bulisar matubwa, boleh binaka malo lele Dr. Sivendra.
Malo, and Bulavinaka, Dr. T.
Pakatabutunan raki may tonga na siguro binaka ni kuwa Dr. Sivendra?
It's a bit like stormy. We had a lot of rain today and over the last week. As you know, New Zealand had TC Gabrielle that actually devastated a lot of Northland, and I was hoping that it was not going to make a turn towards the South Island, but unfortunately the outer trough winds and rainfall is affecting places in Fiji and also Tonga, because we are just an hour and 30 minutes flight away from Fiji. So all of today it's been on and off the rain. All the flights to the outer islands have been cancelled since Friday. Yeah.
Sunday night, the weather has been it's been changing a lot. I know it's cyclone season in your part of the world, down on the southern hemisphere. So I think at this moment we'd like to pay tribute and think of our brothers and sisters in Aotearoa. I know they've been on lockdown, and we think of everybody. Those of you who are logging in and we're going to watch our video as well. If you are logging in from Aotearoa, we're thinking of you right now. Both myself and Dr. Michael were students in New Zealand. We have friends and families who are there. Please, we are thinking of all of you now as you hope to recover from a lot of the damages of TC Gabriel. Pinakapakalib sa Dr. Sivendra, last time, when we spoke, you shared a little bit about your background. I know there are some new people joining in today. Maybe just very quickly, just to share your Fiji connection again, where you were raised, your mom and dad, and the school that you went to.
My name is Sivendra Michael. Sivendra Patrick is my Catholic baptism name, and Michael is my surname. I hail from the beautiful islands of Taveni, from the province of Vakondrove, with maternal links to Madhuwata from Lambasa. My mom is of Indian descent from Punjab. She is 5th generation Punjab, and my dad has lineages to the is 4th or 3rd generation lineages to the Michael family. We carry the surname of Michael, and we are the 3rd generation of Michael from his side. In terms of school, I've gone to multiple schools, so just because we kept moving here and there. But I did my tertiary education at the University of South Pacific. Did a bachelor's in commerce, majoring in economics and accounting, and also did some emphasis on commercial law units as requirements to join the accounting profession. Long after that, or shortly after that, I would say, I found out that my footing was not in the accounting profession. Are you hearing a break in my voice, or is it okay? Okay. Yeah, so I knew that wasn't my field. So I moved into doing some research and teaching at USP, and just continued into my economics career. Did a postgraduate diploma in economics, went on to do a master's in applied econometrics, which is a field that's not offered in the Pacific, one that is very undervalued and very overly valued in other parts of the world, particularly developed countries. And then did another master's at University of Auckland, and went on to do my PhD at University of Auckland. So my background, I guess what people do understand is with higher research degrees like masters and PhD, you need to specialize. So you can have a master's in economics and a master's in development economics, PhD in development economics, but it doesn't mean that you are an expert in economics, or you basically niche yourself into a particular area. And my area is climate change adaptation or disaster risk reduction, how you put it. My focus for both masters and PhD was on redefining the narrative of resilience through the lens of people that have lived it, and also trying to do a modeling on what is the cost implications of natural hazards, sudden onset and slow onset disasters, particularly floods.
Sa totoo kan di na makauti. Rong pinakan di na mo wasay chukubi kendani ko just hearing your story of schooling, and I'm sure it's not easy, but they seem to be like a joy that I can hear in your voice. It seems like you're someone that enjoy learning. So when you went to USP and when you chose economics and accounting, was that something that you were always wanting to do when you were in high school?
No, actually, I got accepted into a Bachelor of Law program, LLB straight. But for those of you who recall, class of 2008-9, we did not have a scholarship for LLB because the nature of the studies was based on needs-based, and they did not need much lawyers back then. So those that could afford it, FAB was the only one that, Fijian Affairs Board was the only one that gave scholarship for Bachelor of Law. For PSC, which was a scholarship that I was part of, there was no scholarship for LLB. So the scholarship office called me and said, go back and reconsider. You are part of the list of students that meet the criteria. If you want to teach, which is BAGCAD, you can take up that course, or alternatively, you can do Bachelor of Commerce based on your marks from Form 6. So I guess I had a lot of interest in economics, but not so much accounting, but there was not what went well with economics was the option. So I wanted to be honest, if I had a choice to go back and do a bachelor's, I would have done economics and sociology. Yeah, I don't know, but I think the study of human behavior with a discipline like economics, it's a very powerful one. And also economics and like statistics, because we did not have the guidance of both my parents did not make it to university. My dad is only been able to educate himself up to class 7. And my mom, she was fortunate to reach Form 6, but she didn't pursue a tertiary education because of financial constraints. So they didn't have the luxury to advise me. And the circle of friends and families that we had was mostly ones that did not pursue tertiary education that much or prioritize their children to go into tertiary, because blue collar jobs were more easier to get, and FNU was a more preferred institution. My siblings were somewhat training to become teachers and computer technicians, and I was on the other end of the spectrum, like not knowing what to do with my life. I knew that if I had to do Bachelor of Commerce, then I had to choose a strength that went with it, and numbers were my strength, so I played to my strength. Yeah.
Very good. I think that's a good lesson
Yeah.
for all of us to take from your story, for you to identify what is your strength and you focus on that. And now I know that you've got your footprints all over the city of Lautoka. Which community in Lautoka were you raised in, and which school did you go to?
So the community that I was raised in was called Weavi Stage 5. So Weavi has 5 stages, and one of the stages, I don't think so there's any stage 4, if I'm correct. There's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 5. So Weavi Stage 5 is near the Coca-Cola factory, and I actually class 8 I finished at Lautoka Primary School, and then I went applied into going to Natambua, but we were not financially fortunate. So I ended up going to Tilak High School and then went on to Indian College in Suva under sports scholarship. I used to play hockey for my school. Got identified and made it to the under 18 team, and then they paid for my school fees in Suva. From 6 and from 7. And then from there, I was awarded another scholarship to go into USP. Yeah.
Wow, Totokan din. I look at that. I really like the fact that you went to Tilak. Boleh binaka to anybody listening, ex Tilak to all the old scholars, boleh binaka. And lovely to hear that you played hockey. And Dr. Sivendra, most of the time, sometimes I remember in my time too, people, our parents will be like, kunile bulang gitu,
Yeah.
kunyang gitu balata na mubuli na singan di binaka. Yeah, look at this. You were playing hockey, but you still passed the exam and you were given your scholarship. So what did you do to master that time management in there for as a young 16 or 17-year-old?
Yeah, I think time management is one factor, but you prioritize because no school is going, I mean, there are some students that are gifted in sports, so you must first recognize that. I take my hats off to, those individuals that are gifted and they know that they will make a career out of a sport. I was someone that loved the field, the sport of hockey, because I used to play with my elder brother from when I was in class 7. Actually, I was the captain of the school team as well, and we were the first team in the West, the first high school in the West to win both the Nawal and Basin Cup together, which is the 7-a-side and the 11-a-side. So that was history. We created history in 2006 to bring both the cups back to the West. Yeah, I was vice captain. Mr. Owen Benny was captain. He's a British Armed Force right now. So hats off to you if you're listening. And I think the recognition on, I think as students, as individuals, we need to recognize if you where you are heading towards your career, you can be good in sports and you can be academically gifted as well. Time management is one thing, but like with schools like Natambua, Tilak, it's different. Like we don't train during the day, we train in the afternoon after school hours. So when it's school time, you focus on schoolwork, and then when it's after school time, you focus on the training and other things that are associated with it, right? It was for me, it was something that those people that know me very well in Lotoka, they would know that I will go to school with my hockey bag and I would be very jovious and laugh around, play around. But when it comes to study, I will study. Like I knew that I had to study. And coming second was not an option for me because I knew that if I would finish second in the class, then it's going to limit my chances from not getting a scholarship because you're competing with the cream of some of the best in the West, and so you gear yourself for what's there and what you can get. Even to the point that we had very healthy competition in our school. When I went to Indian college, things changed because then you had another level altogether. So then it was about making sure that you do well and you excel in school. It's not about finishing top of the class. So I think in my conversation, what you guys can hear is there is a self-learning process that you realize that, academic positioning in class means nothing. It's how you prioritize your learnings in school and put yourself in the system that will make you grow and associate yourself with healthy competition. Because I remember when I went to Indian college, now Jane Ryan, there were a lot of self-learning because the nature of their education system is that the teachers will come and allocate tasks and then expect students to do reading and a lot of research and then work together to try and identify solutions or develop solutions. And that's why I think for so many years in a row that schools like Indian college are always topping the exams in the country nationwide. And they also have like people that have like, we have 30-40 people above 350 out of 400, just because for them it's not about positioning in the class, it's about doing well and giving your best because you're taught that way. So yeah, if you are doing well on the sport field, you give it your best there, but in the classroom, you also give it your best because you have limited time within a day to divide between school, sport, and then I used to work as well. So I used to go school, sport, and then work in the afternoon. So that was part and parcel of life. How I managed it, I do not know. God was there with me the whole time.
Sabi nako, nakakalimutan Dr. Sivendra, your story is very inspirational. Even from our last Talanoa, this is our second Talanoa. To those of you who are just joining us today for the very first time, you can find our video on my page. 2 weeks ago, Dr. Sivendra and I have started this Motivational Monday series to talk about some of the work that he does in Tonga, and it's to do with climate change and community resilience. And he's actually a disaster practitioner and a researcher in this field of climate change. Vinako Dr. Sivendra for just your inspiration, because inspirational story, because many parents are listening right now and they will be given little tips from our conversation so that they can be able to help their children. Now, the next question I'm going to ask is to do with your going to USP and the choices that you made. You mentioned earlier on that now we don't have a special degree course that is associated with your career when you graduate. What was it like back then when you had to make choices for the courses that you have to choose?
I would take a step back. I guess in high school, the teachers are kind of geared towards helping student, make career decisions and present a array of choices. For us, I guess going into uni, it was inspired by the opportunity of scholarship, if I can be frank. If there was no scholarship, there was no opportunity to, I don't think so. I would have gone to uni. I would have taken a gap year and waited. But most of the times I can say that the choice of subject is kind of influenced or imposed based on what's available in the list of scholarship options, and also partially the aspirations of what the needs of the country is. So for example, in Fiji, you know that there's a lot of brain drain of accountants, of economists, a lot of brain drain of pilots, so these are subjects and disciplines where you have a large pool of scholarships available, even doctors. And so I guess this is how we managed to choose the subject. But what I did realize is that, and I said this during my last conversation, is whatever you learned in high school, it will only take you so far. When you enter the gates of the university, it's a whole different playing field. So you have to gear yourself towards that playing field. There's no more spoon feeding. It's you have the luxury of time, whether you attend class or not. No, the lecturer would not come and tell you why aren't you not coming to class. Yeah, the lecturer will know that if you don't attend 70% of your tutorials, you automatically get an E grade. There's no choice. It's in the course outline. So it's up to you as a student on how you nurture yourself into the fields you have chosen. So for accounting particularly, you don't have much of a choice till your third year to specialize into like management accounting, financial accounting, and so forth. You kind of specialize when you go into graduate school, or master's or postgrad, for those that are using relating to USP. And for others, like economics, you specialize. So first year, second year, you do the broad foundational units, and then your third year you specialize. Either you specialize into monetary, or you do like macro, micro, which is kind of compulsory, but you also get a choice to do development, public economics, health economics. So you have a niche of options, and then you can choose. You even get environmental economics. So students need to really channel that inner innovation and inner strength and think, where are they headed towards? If they are choosing a particular industry that they are, wanting to choose, then they should be doing courses related to that field so that they can make themselves unique to the market so that they can pitch themselves. We didn't get that advice, Dr. T, from no one. Not, I mean, we have careers advice in the university too, but we didn't use that to our advantage until when I became a tutor. I started telling students that there is that service available. You can go and talk to these kind of people, or even share my own learnings to the students. That when I came to my third year, I did EC 306, which is international economics, EC 304, which is development economics, and I did EC 307, which is environmental economics. So I did these three, and in together with that, I did 301, which is monetary at my time. Now it's micro, and 302, which is macro. And our time it was public economics. So you kind of do you're not fixated into one discipline. You kind of pick and choose where you want to go, and it makes you kind of interested in a particular market. Like my interest, to be honest, was to go towards the Reserve Bank. Like that's where I wanted to go, to become a central banker in the economics division. And because I had a job offer from PricewaterhouseCoopers, and the starting point was quite luxurious in terms of graduate rate, I went there. And what else can I say in terms of making these tough decisions? I guess students these days, my plea and echo to you is that you are privileged in the sense that you have scholarship schemes that did not exist in our time. Like, for example, TELS, national toppers. Yeah, the value of stipend you get now, we got half of that in our time. You get an offer letter of a course of any choice, you get to pursue that course, yeah, through the TELS scholarship, because TELS is based on, one, your academic achievement, and two, your availability or your admission into a particular course. So you are not limited to making those choices. You can make those choices on the onset based on the course you want to specialize in and what you want to do. The difference between national topper and TELS is basically, national topper, I think you have to serve for a particular period, which is what we did as well. Same for PSC. And then the second one is you pay back. And depending on the family income, there's a percentage that you will pay back through the TELS scheme. Now, what I've seen as a tutor is that students now also have the luxury with this scholarship scheme. And please, if anybody from the TELS board is here on the call, or if anybody from the scholarships divisions is here, please correct me if I'm wrong. But what I've heard from my students is you're even allowed to, change your course halfway. If you're going towards the first semester and you see, okay, this is not my area, I don't quite enjoy it, and I'm not enjoying the learning journey, you can easily make a switch into another discipline. It just adds to your debt burden, right? But it's good that you make those decisions on the first year rather than when you reach your third year, when it's too late. And yeah, I think as a region, we need to grow as well. We are so focused on these mainstream disciplines that do not benefit us in the industry. Just today, I had a conversation with some of my colleagues are stuck in one of the outer islands in Tonga called Vavau. They went to do a policy workshop consultation, and they were coming back. And I went to the aviation airline agency to try and see if they can go back on the flight. And interestingly, we had this conversation on why USP is not offering something in aviation management or civil aviation management, because aviation is an industry that's currently offering like piloting license, avionics from FNU, But aviation management is a completely different field where we are outsourcing from other countries. We're getting experts from other countries to come and do these jobs, right? So that's one particular field like we don't have a bachelor in development studies. Development studies is one of the disciplines that we need. Central to any developing country is understanding how development works. What is the aspects, the strengths, the political economic analysis. We learn it at postgrad level, but the anthropology and the sociology between development work, people that are interested in, there are a lot of great thinkers in the young age. They would really much enjoy this. We don't have Bachelor of Chemical Engineering. We go out to go and do these courses. So I don't know. I don't know where the thinking lies, but these are the avenues of brain drain. So people are like going to attain these qualifications outside, and they will remain outside. And the Pacific will be bombarded with people that are not from the Pacific and are going to come and tell us how to do things, we can't contextualize the knowledge because it's not offered in our own countries.
Saranga. And I think in our last conversation, we were also talking about the lived experience, because there's always a good thing to employ those of us from the region, because we live there, we grew up there, and when it comes to finding solutions to issues that we face, it's going to be based on, traditional knowledge, going back to our lived experience, and things will work for our benefit more. In terms of those who come from outside, but we still value them. But I think you are right. We have to start thinking strategically ahead of us 5 to 10 years to 20 years from now, for us as a region, to start looking into those fields that are needing a lot of our locals as well.
I mean, a good discipline as well is a discipline that we mostly talk about, like you just mentioned, cultural knowledge, indigenous knowledge, so forth, cultural heritage. These are different elements of a broader anthropology degree. We don't have anthropology in the Pacific. We do anthropology. We don't have a bachelor's of anthropology. Go and search in FNU, Unifici, or USP. I think Unifici right now has just come up with a Bachelor of Development studies, but I do not know what the course entails. Who is teaching the course? Are these specific development experts? Are we getting people that will teach us foreign models that do not work in our area? So I think these are conscious questions that we need to start asking as development practitioners, as researchers, as parents to younger generation, as a sibling to older as well and to younger. We keep probing them to start thinking about a future that they want to see, not the future that we want to see for them.
That's a really, really good point. Nakapakalib Sara, Dr. Sivendra, for sharing that. Now, I'm looking at the picture behind you, and I've already mentioned in the introduction that you are connecting in from Nuku'alofa in Tonga. Would you like to share a little bit to our listeners the work that you do in Tonga and which office you are attached to right now? And then secondly, you can explain to us the importance of the picture you have there.
Okay. So basically my work as a development practitioner, my area of expertise, as I said, is around climate change adaptation and disaster risk reduction. Again, I use the word expertise very lightly. I am not an expert in like saying that I know everything. I specialize, or I'm working towards specializing in this area is my humble way to explain it to the audience. So I work for an organization called United Nations Development Program. UN is a umbrella body which has many other UN agencies under it. So you have ILO, which is a UN agency. You have the WHO, World Health. You have UN, UNICEF, UNESCO, UNESCAP, and many others that fall under this umbrella organization called UN. Apart from that, we have the IFIs, which is the international financial institutions like World Bank, IMF, and so forth. They also they are a group of its own, but they are also closely associated with the world, with the UN agencies. So what UNDP does is we are not a response agency, and I would like to repeat what I mean by that. So a response agency is something like what happened in TC Gabriel when we had the sudden onset of a disaster event. A humanitarian phase is activated, and in that phase, people are deployed to go and support with like the cleaning of the debris, the restoration of livelihood, and the cluster system is activated on shelter, water, safety, social protection, you name it, right? Education, displacement of people, and so forth. So this is kind of the umbrella of the response work. So rescue, search and rescue, all of this is part of the response phase. Then thereafter, you have the recovery phase, which is what our agency specializes in. And this is to support with when the humanitarian, so remember when a state of natural disaster is declared, the humanitarian phase is activated. Then the state of natural disaster does not run for a indefinite period. It's a defined period of time, whether it's 30 days, it can be an extended. So when that period closes, the recovery period activates. And in that period, the government makes a request to agencies like ours to try and support the recovery initiatives, the short-term, medium-term, and the long-term recovery initiatives of the country. So UNDP as an agency was made a request to support the Hunga-Tonga and Hunga-Ha'apai volcanic eruption and tsunami, the greatest or the largest ever tsunami and volcanic eruption ever recorded on planet Earth after the Hiroshima bombing back in the 1900s. So I guess in light of the scale or the magnitude of event, a couple of UN agencies that focus on recovery were deployed. Our system in UNDP, we call it the working from within approach. So we don't base ourselves with in remote offices, we base ourselves with the agency that is responsible for the recovery mechanisms of the government. In the case of Tonga, that's the National Emergency Management Office called NEMO. We are based here in Snuffed Building, level 3 Snuffed Building, Auto Road, right? So what we do is we co-design the recovery initiatives. Now, also for clarity, we don't dictate. We work with the government to identify the recovery priorities, and then we co-design them, and we try and facilitate its implementation. So in Tonga, particularly, when the event happened, 127 households, which has a lot of numbers of individuals, if you're counting children and parents and adults and persons with disability, they were displaced. So 127 households had to leave their homes into evacuation centers. This is not counting the 2,760 that were displaced. So those that were actually in evacuation centers for temporary and then go back. 127 households, they had to be in evacuation centers and they cannot go back to their own island. One of those islands is this one, it's Atata. So you can see that the wave crossed from the other side to this side. It's a stream island and there is no life on the island anymore. The two buildings that remained is the church and the school. It's not a miracle, it's God's way of telling you or sending a message that, that there was only 4 deaths that was recorded. 3 as a direct result of the tsunami and 1 as an indirect result, meaning trauma caused to the person. So out of that 4 deaths and the injuries and the displacement that has occurred, these communities, this island is no longer habitable. It's on the you can see it from Nuku'alofa. It's not far. It's one of the islands, if you would have heard, was where the man was swept away and he was floating to the mainland. So he was a person with disability and he made it to the mainland. People thought he was missing at sea, but and his sympathies and everything was being shared, but he was there. They found him and he was alive. So his story is being shared. if you have an opportunity and you want to listen to some human impact stories, newshub.com just recently did a documentary here. So colleagues, you can go there. You can even go on my Facebook page and Instagram page. I shared some footages from what was it like before, what happened during the day, and does it look like after. In Tongatapu itself, 7 resorts that was on the west coast is no longer standing. It's completely flat to the bottom, like there's only rocks and remains that stay there. So that's part of the longer term recovery. And so for the shorter term recovery, we focused on like agriculture, seedlings, and livelihoods. We tried to go, through the Tonga Development Bank, help MSMEs recover through grants, 0% concessional loans. Women economic empowerment, we gave like some grants to the women's group in like little islands, outer islands, sorry, not little islands, in the like little districts within the Tonga. We also supported the remittance subsidy. So like when you're sending money from overseas from the Australian corridor, we subsidize the cost of them sending money so that the people can receive it without bearing that cost. We upgraded the National Emergency Management Operations Center in case of another event. As we know that this is the monsoon season, we are ready, we are geared towards responding to that. Because when Hunga-Tonga and Hunga-Ha'apai happened, if you see footages online, you don't see the entire Tonga was disconnected from the world for almost 48 hours. So people did not know what was happening because the main underwater sea cable that connected Tonga to the rest of the world was destroyed or damaged. And so even we cannot come in because when the response agencies, when it happened, COVID happened. So you had dealing with double disasters at one time. So we send humanitarian agencies to come and give the supplies. So Australia, New Zealand, when they used to come and give the food, they would come with the helicopter and drop the food, and then you can't touch the food for 72 hours or 48 hours for the whole process, and then you go and deliver. So I guess the people went through a lot, and 4.98 million or 4.8 million US for just the ashfall, cleaning up of the ashfall from the volcanic eruption. So from the stories that I heard, that there was rocks the size of our palm and 2 sizes of our palm that were falling from the sky onto like cars and roads and house tops. So people were quite devastated in terms of, we do not know whether the world is coming to an end, was the words of a survivor, or we did not know if this was like what was happening. We didn't expect it to be that bad. So it's a 1 in 1,000 year event that was predicted to actually erupt 6 years from 2019 by NASA. So NASA predicted that 6 years from 2019 that it's going to erupt, but it erupted within 3 years, 2019, 2020, 21. So just within 2 years, it erupted on the 15th of Jan. So I guess there is a lot of questions that you may be asking why. Scientists can tell you, that most of it, we didn't know that it was going to erupt that badly. And the storms, the waves went, it reached all the way to Peru. It hit Hawaii as well, if you would have seen. It hit our Lawan groups. In Peru, 2 people died because of the waves, because it caused oil spills from the structure that was standing. And this is Atata, basically one of the islands.
So that island is empty right now.
Inhabitable, yeah. It's a red zone area.
So red zone area. So the people on that island, where are they now, Dr. Sivendra?
They are moved to their new homes, which is being built by the government of Tonga. Yeah.
On Tongatapu.
On Tongatapu and some in Iwa. So in Iwa, we have the people of Mango, which is the other island that was completely devastated. And in Nuku'alofa, you have the people of Atata as well. So
it's amazing, that only 4 people died,
It's only
with the devastation was quite bad, Dr. Sivendra.
Yeah, and anthropologists and social scientists are still trying to come to terms on how can even the news people that came, the scale and the footages of the eruption, they can't believe that only 4 people passed away. But as many disaster practitioners have said,
Mm.
and the Pacific disaster practitioners have said, that resilience in these Pacific islanders is defined through their lived experiences.
So,
So tsunami is not a new thing for them, right? 2009, the Samoa tsunami killed 44 people or something, some number in the newest group in
yeah.
Tonga. So people over time from that event knew what to do. Volcanic eruption, on the other hand, was something new for this century. And a eruption at that scale, that everything went black outside, complete black. Yeah, yeah. I guess you can hear within my conversation the emotions and affect that is
Yeah.
associated with
No.
these events. And as disaster practitioners, when we come into fields like this, we need to have a lot of reflexivity to try and reflect on whether we are making a meaningful contribution to the process. We don't tire out the communities.
Mm.
We don't, be burdensome and be a burden by initiating a recovery incentive or a recovery project that is not needed by the government. There may be other urgent priorities. So it all goes down to consultation. Like if you consult with the community, you do it the right way through the locals themselves. Most of the time in the consultation is led by my colleague, Mr. Ashley Fua, who is the Deputy
Mm.
Police Commissioner of Tonga. So he goes and he does all the consultation. I just be part of the people or part of the groups to try and reinforce that we will not do something if it's not needed,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, Sandin. And I remember you sent me a couple of videos that you went to visit the Hunga-Ha'apai, Hunga-Tonga island. What is the state of that island right now when you visited?
So vegetation is completely, there's no life on the island anymore. The birds are going back to the island. It's so before the calderas, the 2 calderas there's 2 mountains, so Hunga-Tonga and Hunga-Ha'apai. So there are 2 islands, right? Two, I guess, mountainous calderas that are structures that are standing in the middle of the ocean. Before that, it was connected by the crater that
Mm.
the 2 islands you can see. And so the activity was happening in the middle. So if you see satellite images, you can see like luke, lukewarm greenish water in the middle and then dark blue on the side. So I wish I had a picture to share with you. So it's basically it's it's got this surrounding, and where every time the activity happens, the island forms. So the island was connected. So the things that connected the islands were sediments that came out from the eruption. So it didn't happen over 1 year. These guys have been monitoring the volcano, the geology department, the met department. They've been monitoring it for ages. So yeah, colleagues, if you want, you can Google as you see the Hunga-Tonga Hunga-Ha'apai, HTHH, you can say, and you can see the caldera, how it was connected between the two. So we went with the news hub with one of the skippers who used to fish there, and he said to me, it's the prime fishing zone. You catch the most fish there.
Seriously?
Yeah,
So
but
from that eruption, the birds are coming back and the ika are all coming back.
so no, before the eruption, it was the prime
Oh,
fishing spot.
before. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah, but now after the eruption, parts of the mountains are completely gone. Like the size of Hunga-Ha'apai was bigger, and now it's just like one. I don't know. It's very small. I don't know if I have a picture. I have a picture online. I can try and get it for the colleagues when we take a break and show you guys some pictures. But basically, before there was a caldera that actually connected the 2 islands like this, and now it's just the 2 islands. The inside is gone back down, and it's still active. You're muted.
I found some pictures here from the Smithsonian Museum on
Yeah.
the global, what do you call it, volcanism page. So let me see
Yeah.
if I can share it.
Here.
And then you can be able to talk to it. So these are the
Yeah.
pictures that they were able to pick up. Okay, let me share it, and then you can talk to it. So it was really useful to see a little bit.
Yeah.
So does this look familiar? Just the two island here.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that
very
Congo?
old.
very old.
That's very old.
This is the one before the volcanic eruption, right? So,
Yeah, it's a bit too big now. Like I show you, I have some pictures.
okay.
When I download stuff. So, sorry, colleagues.
Yeah. So this is they were tracking it before the eruption, Congo.
Yeah.
This is 2nd January 2022.
So 2022 would be now, like after the eruption, post eruption.
Okay.
So you see the between the two, where the ash fall and the other one, those two other islands, there is no, the two are connected. So
Oh,
Yeah,
and this is the explosion, Congo. This is the
the
big
one at the
explosion on
bottom,
the 14th.
the one at the bottom, the
one
one
at
on the
the bottom.
bottom is the successive photo.
Wow. Go.
Yeah. So that was yeah.
The Manguliu.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It's huge. Yeah. It was it was bigger than, according to them, it was bigger than the Hiroshima bomb. The loudness, the sound that came to the ear, they couldn't they couldn't imagine
Because it was
hearing.
from under the sea, Lahat kumain na
The-
laman ni Waitui,
Yeah.
Saan din na?
That's
Rito mo na nga ang Congo. So this is the picture now. They're
yeah,
separate,
that's too big. That's an old picture.
Oh.
14, that's one day before of the eruption. 14 January. Oh, sorry, 1 year after the eruption.
Oh, 1 year after the eruption.
Yeah.
So the eruption was in 2021.
14 sorry, it was on the
2022.
15th of January 2022.
Ang bagsahod,
Yeah.
Wow.
I will show you the footages. Hang on, I'm just downloading it.
Oh, okay.
I have
Yeah.
the
So for
actual
those of
footage.
you listening in, boleh binaka reapi, laisari tamanito akula, laisa mo antong boleh binaka, Linda Lockington, Seli tamanivalu, totoka na sema chukma deals diloy. There's a family logging in from Germany. It's in the evening in Germany right now. Boleh binaka deals diloy. Laisa ni mule antong boleh binaka, sini mili chute. Ngona bitala no chunga ni bekay chukma itong. Terubitalo chiko ke Dr. Sivendra Michael. Dr. Sivendra Michael ako na disaster practitioner and researcher with a UNDP, United Nations Development Program. Kabing garab chuko na matin tuotong may Nuku'alofa na ngunang ko. Iya, damarutaka ni sulito ka na nanguna. Takataka pa chiko ko kira na liyo ni bono may tonga na nonra sangati ko na nonra mbula nangon isa na inisawoti may na nonra sa tawanan rendre libungo ni kena karambote na uli ni bono kam siya na tabua na kena na babiti makau pakan dong bulan din na kaya goso na we tambay biumay the asphalt dona kana libu ni dust kwara lulutu may from the volcano pakan dong bulan din na kena buto pakan dua na bono tong lomo ni basang vulkawalu na yaw rona sino todo ko they were disconnected from the rest of the world. Ang ko nga so na tamba erto tamba katiko na museum may na Smithsonian may Washington DC kartong bito chungo so na tamba ni bekayado ni Sembera na katambote ni uli ni bono kamay na ruko ni lomo ni Waitui baka talangakin gore to ko na bimatanggali wangar baka tatan en ngonela kumikin na wolok. Iya. Kung nga bito na itamba o Dr. Sivendra Michael wangkara chungko ko so na video mbeka si so na itamba ang ito problema ng gawa siya weekend and no na taka tingo ko mitong ngunungo goso ni tamba na ene no na muka mati kena koro kana kupul reto ngona kena bakalolom na puno e lambeteni na woloka ko tiku sartunga ni norto taka o Dr. Sivendra Michael and na to sasanga tiko and non ra bakatiko release style na turanga kena maramani tong and na puno era sala ki bakatiko tiki ngono ko tabo tsingo ko sibiti tiko ni ndona ra bakata ndona ro sanga mulka vitu na bi mata bubale sa sanga ni style non ra tiko berarti sa bakada ni ke ya na vita mana kita ngonta vita na taka chungo ngosar ngana tambani ni taka bingara biti kina o Dr. Sivendra Michael iya tataka bako tina vita no ni kuan ngai o seti kumengo ko sa tala ni tuku ena buku ni nona bingara biti kumitong na tambe tiku inta kuna ya ndo virto na yanu bola katonga na yanu le botong tapu ni tiku mai Nuku'alofa na kena korturanga and the ni re ni wai the ni re na ulina yan o atata tiku talanga o eua no eua bulu binaka sa Fera Ogden do bulu binaka na sema tiku mai Dubai malo na sema tiku mai ni Rome vital no tingo ke Dr. Sivendra Michael.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen so that people can see.
I've activated it for you.
Okay, so basically, so Hunga-Tonga and Hunga-Ha'apai, as you can see, that's the two calderas, right? So these are the two. I am not a scientist and I'm not a geologist, so I will not explain to you the specifics of what happens. But basically, from the underwater, you can see the mouth of the volcano in the middle, and the Hunga-Tonga is on the left and Hunga-Ha'apai is on the right. So every time the eruption, like I wouldn't say eruption, the volcanic activity happened, the two islands got connected. So you can see that. If I take you back, this is how it looked in real life. So the water from the ocean would come in and the color would be different. So these are actual images of people that stepped on. You can step on the place, right? So when they used to go before, there was a lot of missions that went. There's video footages of people that actually stepped. New Zealand High Commission that went to see the island. So that's how it looked like. This is from an aerial shot from the other side. So if you see from Hunga-Tonga, you can see the island, the caldera, you can see the crater, and you can see the water. Now, you've seen all of that, and now this is the pictures from my trip there. This is it now.
Wow.
So the caldera that connected the two islands are no longer there. It's gone back underwater, and its activity is still there, but scientists cannot predict how long it will take for the new formation. So if you go back, you can see the scale of the island. It's big, like between the two islands, it's huge. But look at this one on the right, you can see how small this is. So parts of the island with the explosion had gone away. So what was falling on people's roofs and stuff was the system, the rock, the structures of rock that actually fell. You can also see that there was life on the island, green, and there's no life on the island here. And so if I take you, this is my video of just going around. You can see that the birds, at least the birds are coming back. And so what we are doing is in between this rock and the other rock, there is so this is Hunga-Tonga or Hunga-Ha'apai, one of the two. So basically between the two rocks is where the caldera used to exist. Now it doesn't. So that's on the left is, so that's how it is now. It's just standing there. And so it feels like it's just two islands that used to exist, or it doesn't, you can't tell that this was all there, right? You can't tell that all of this was here. And so it's, so this is it. And this is one of the sites from the storm. So this is where the 17-meter wave hit. And this is one of the resorts that's no longer
17 meters.
17 meter in height. Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. So I stopped sharing this and I show you just a quick video as well because I have a video.
Sandi na. Sa nimbola binakabali mo na siya mo chukumay. May talon chukango weekend. Dr. Sivendra Michael, siya mo sartingo ko may tonga matinisinga.
And you know, on the night of the eruption, it was like red. Everything was, the skies were red, right?
Yeah,
Dark red. So people were like trying to figure out like what's happening, and yeah, it's crazy.
Sandi na.
2023 eruption. Because we went with her just a while ago to see the.
I'm hoping maybe after our Talanoa series, I might invite Professor Patrick Nan back, just to give us another little geology class on Hunga-Tonga and Hunga-Ha'apai site in Tonga.
These geology experts, they know their stuff. You know, they can be the, for us we are social disaster practitioners. So we didn't. My background is not in geology, so I can't comment on it. But I want to show you a video of that we did with the News Hub team. I actually downloaded it and sent it to.
Token din Vika menina warong ti kumai godo na turanga nakatak ti kumitong ti kuan tambana ni United Nation Development Program ya kasema ti ko kuan matintu ko tonga en nonra sangay ti kumera na tambana ni bebueti kana tambana ni bebu kebir na leoni bono mitonga bamadal tak chingo Dr. Sivendra donan ra rusang bulka bitu na matabubal era sasang nilustal na mamral nakan sa bakatata ni bosi men na uoloka kada rambe ani na nora di ani anu tabuti chuko ni tin kabitu na mita na balab se vere ni wahe na buno edo sa o mandanga nyungi baka samtang na tin kabitu na mita kena rongo le na kadamboti ni uli buno kamango galeba nga rabalengai dare de senator bek na koko ni kelo na nora to nora bakumbulai na liway tonga nindaro ni kai ni tarana buru-buru todo kono rong ni kadambote le ya sari di South America boy talanga me Hawaii na der ni wai kato me bakila talanga iki asaka di baki mai bir ke na tiko na bimbarabi ke bako tiko wai Mozambique asaka di baki mai na tuku bike mame tagari ngoni kina na bimbi ni nonto baka rongo ni sa kuni may na retio sa retio leal sa na nonto telepon biko yaki Mozambique dhambe sar so nangono tando sarap tok so ne leal bika na barong tikumay ni sa tukun na dhambe nangay galak talibarab dali vitam ker me kotal ni do kaya sa dolor ile usar nga biken sa kali bikmay sa lak chukumay na wolo ka mente sa torean non de bilkan kanta ngole ni kenan do na puno ver ngo sangan tar dhambe tikay no kanta na bienro sarang gay siru somutal may sobat kinon ritamer le vitam bimbat siniway ker me sana ko me bisa umanda na taray mentaray na bimbi ni pula ni sa kali bikmay ni tuku baya menta bakaro.
Yeah, we went out. I'm almost getting the video.
Tatak. Tamaro sarang apa levo nimbula binak bikim to kaya na wekan dito kay o ni bakarong ti kumay itong matini singa bakang bulsar chikan bikim ni kaya sar na bibu bale so o ni salaki bakay tiko tonga nangunong ko dulele usar do bakarong ti kumay bitalam no ito bakay do tiko na program mongko nitakan ni maro takan na siya mati kumay o bunuway si Sivendra Michael may bitalo no to may bulang odi kenti ko nano nakaka ni bibueti bayira na bakalengkay nano tiko sa nano rambula may na bikabakaongo na bibisonin raki na kena dambe na waloka kena dakatiko na walubu tautiko bakalib na uda lebutiko na lamba tapi kakek bango da sakilango sai wakta kilkila ni otu tini bising daro ni kai iya sartu irana kena tamatan to kata kambiakan daro ni kai kata ki winu si Sivendra Michael ersa wakai bola bakuroi and tambalang ko ni Weti, ni Raki Bibisaw, and Nona Misiamatin go Kabikan and Simanako. That's a Ramatango.
So this was from the team that came.
And tuko na mo audio sa Dr. Sivendra?
She's up. Okay. Sorry.
It's a year since a violent volcanic eruption in Tonga that we now know was the largest recorded in modern history. Dozens of families on the islands of Atata and Mango fled as a tsunami surged over their homes and left the islands uninhabitable. Many are now resettled in newly built houses, but there are still more than 100 people living in temporary shelters. Isabel Ewing is in Tonga.
Previously an island paradise, this was Atata in the days after the eruption. Trees uprooted, a tide mark of debris left after the monster waves receded. Those who lived here forced to flee, given refuge at temporary shelters like Lose Finau, who filmed this video of the surging sea before she realised it meant a tsunami was coming. Her recollection of what came next is vivid. The little girl she mentions is the 8-year-old daughter of the manager of this now broken resort on Atata. It was in the roof cavity of the now deserted building that she clung with the child after they ran there between the crashing waves. Terrified, they could only wait. "31 families, more than 100 people were relocated to this church hall in Tongatapu from Atata after the tsunami wiped out their homes. Most have been resettled near the village of Masilamia on the main island of Tongatapu.
They are in their houses now. In previous years, with disasters, it takes us about 3 years or so to build.
Lose and her auntie are among the 12 families who still live here, waiting to hear where their new home will be.
Not much stuff.
Yes.
But although her whole life is bundled into 2 bags next to where she sleeps, Lose says she feels loved and taken care of by her community. A sentiment echoed by those who responded to the eruption's catastrophic aftermath.
The Tongan people and the Tongan community were very resilient and having the courage to look after each other.
Atata is just across the lagoon from where its community now lives, but it is far from the home they once knew. In Tonga, Isabel Ewing, News Hub.
So yeah, if you guys want, there is many other videos we did. One of going out to the outer islands, to the homeless. You can have a look at that. But in a nutshell, you've seen the last week I had the first conversation with you, Dr. Tia. I had that same resort where I told you the story of the woman that stayed in the roof with the owner of the resorts, the child of the owner of the resort. So it's a lived experience. It is a reality, and it is a memory that is going to be sitting with many and generations to come. So I think what is at core of this learning is that we should not be calling people resilient. We should let people define their own version of resilience.
Just about to ask you about the word resilience, and I'm glad you mentioned that, that it's up to the people on how they want to define that. And I think on behalf of everybody listening in today, we just want to wish you and your team in Nuku'alofa all the success in the various programs you are putting in place to help all our Tongan families, be reunited back to the community. I know it's going to take time, but I know the people of Tonga, again, they I think champions of Sole Solebake. They like to work together, and that's something that Tongans are known for.
And I think, like, when you talk about resilience, and I always say this, it is a construct that we have lived with for centuries. It is not one that can be imposed upon us. For example, the communities that I have always done research in, they know when the floods will come. They know exactly what to do. They know that they will be affected. They know that they will lose everything in their life. They know that they will go to an empty home with nothing. And their vision of resilience is their lived experience and their ability to go back to the same home and restart each time. Yeah, it's not the same thing to come back to the point, like how it's defined in urban dictionary or in urban spaces or foreign spaces, is your ability to withstand, adapt, and cope and respond to it, and sometimes return to equilibrium. They say this. For someone like me, I'm always asking, what do you mean by equilibrium? Those experiences, if you lose a loved one, you can never get that person back. So forget about using the terminology, just in a loose way. It's a term that's actually been brandished. It's been morphed into a word and interpreted in different ways. Psychological resilience, ecological resilience, you name it. Everybody uses it so bluntly. Our former Prime Minister used to also use it at COP. We're like, you don't get to define that our people are resilient. Let the people tell their stories of resilience. This is at the core of it. And this is my call to all disaster practitioners. Let's move away from the narrative and the development narrative where we are curbing to build resilience of others. Let them be the ones that want to define their version of resilience and tell you what resilience looks like in terms of building an infrastructure that can withstand, because they are the custodians of traditional knowledge, not us. Yeah, they're the custodians of places where their forefathers were there. And these communities will never go back to their homes. If there were a fisherman community coming to inland and relying on agriculture, that means you have to adapt to a complete different lifestyle, livelihoods mechanism. It's not easy. It's not an easy ask to ask people to, leave or change something that your forefathers have taught you, which is your fishing skills, and come and resettle in a community. Those are hard questions we need to start talking about, quite frankly. And I'm someone that always gets called out, probably, for saying things like, we will not let the foreign consultants come and tell us how to tell our stories. They can come and appreciate and learn from it, but they'll not come and dictate and delegate and tell us that this is how you should be and what are the ways to be. We need to move away from that. Yeah.
Dr. Sivendra, for championing the local voices, the local communities, and giving credit to our traditional knowledge holders and those of our elders who have kept so many of this indigenous knowledge for so many generations. For bringing that story to the forefront.
And
now
these
I
are the stories, Dr. T, that needs to be, that's absent. And I say it quite frankly, it's absent from policy discussion spaces. It's absent from legislation development spaces. It's absent. Whether you like it or not, we need to acknowledge these are the stories that are not grounding the development of the future regional policies. These are the policy, these are the stories that need to be told. And that's why at every COP, you have young people and warriors that go and hold these spaces and hold leaders to account, because they know that it's their futures that are at stake, right? These leaders will come and go. They'll make decisions for them, and so what? Yeah. So yeah, that's I guess it's an internal reflection process where we need to start acknowledging the realities of the context in which we live in.
Yan sarang totoo ba ko tie binakawali mo na mo Oceania na tikinaya. I've also spoken to some of my friends even in the African continent. They also share the same sentiments you just shared. That most of the time we always looking out to we say the West, to help us, but we actually have the answers to everything ourselves. So it's just a matter of us to switch the way we view knowledge and view the knowledge from our own lens and go back to our own community, our own elders, and start recording the stories and valuing the stories. I think that's a really important point that you highlighted. Now, I understand you are going to be traveling to the other side of the globe in the next few days. So before we conclude our Talanoa today, would you like just to share with us what's coming up in your travel program?
So yeah, basically my deployment with Tonga government will soon come to an end. No specifics yet. We are hoping to stay here till at least, well, the government is hoping that we stay in support at least for another 4 to 5 months, but also taking a step back to note that there is existing capacities within the country and the government to actually lead this work quite rightfully. And we know that these capacities exist. We know that the capacities are there. I guess the transition from deployment, because like I said, for us in Undp, we are based within Nimo. So nito Mbiu Vango, we should have a proper handover and formalization of passing on the roles and responsibilities, because the project is bound to continue. Like I said, we just did the short term to medium term. The long term still remains. And who knows, we're still in a monsoon season. What if our developments are compromised because there's another tsunami or there's another cyclone? We do not know, what's God's calling, what the nature calls as well. So in light of this changing risk complex and the changing climatic conditions that we are surrounded by, we need to be mindful of how the transition works. So I'm headed towards East Africa for a bit, and just to support the development of a new project phase there. The project that used to exist there is also on disaster risk management, but it's going from demonstration of how it works to building capacities of individuals to now scaling and looking at the sustainability of the work. So a country like, say for example, Malawi has 32 states. We would have rolled out the project in disaster prone districts. And now we have to also, expand and scale the kinds of work UNDP is doing in the other districts, which are not right now, maybe not disaster prone, but in the near future can be disaster prone. So yeah, I guess there is a little bit of components that you look at. One is to make sure that the policies are there. Then the next thing is to make sure that the people are there to implement the policies. And then the third thing is to actually demonstrate to the community that, the power of investing in risk today and its subsequent benefits in the future. We used the example in our first conversation. Let's encourage development partners that we don't need a water tank only. If we get a water tank from a development partner, we should be always reminding them or the community themselves that either the development partner or the community invest in the water base, the fencing of the property, the strapping for the cyclone. Be prepared for anything that is coming. The wildlife that's going around, the pigs that can destroy the tank. Anything can happen. The guttering that can infect the water, which collects the rainwater. So nito wakasama taka na risk measures nikua, we have to think 5 times ahead. It's proactive management of risk rather than reactive. We also want to use this term, we call it in UNDP, risk-informed development, that your development is adequately risk-informed. The aspects of risk is integrated into planning, into budgeting. The reason why I say that is because if it's not planned properly, it's not going to be budgeted properly. If it's not budgeted properly, we will shortcut our development. Come the next cyclone, that same bridge, that same water tank is back into square one. We're going to go back and spend the same amount of money redoing it again. So facts and economists have actually done some calculations from econometrics models, and they've said that if you invest in $1 today, US, you save $7 US in the near future from the impacts of disaster and climate change. Yeah. So a $1 investment in risk measures today will really be 7-fold beneficial for us. So we should start thinking about these numbers more seriously. Let's tell the donors and the development partners what we need, not what we want. And echo that if this is a risk zone, let's not build back here. Let's build back to a safer, not build back better, but build back safer, build back, with more inclusive practices, build back more, one property that has you don't have to give 100 households 100 water tanks. You can give 10 households that can share a larger water tank with proper risk measures. We've done this in Savu, across Fiji, in many projects with UNDP. Reach out to the projects. They can show you examples of how they have been doing it. Another great partner in Fiji is Ministry of Rural and Maritime Development. For those in Fiji, reach out to them. Those in Tonga, reach out to NEMO. They will explain to you their concept, their concept papers, their modality of small scale infrastructure like agriculture farms, water tank projects. They can give you an example of bridges, small bridges for community, not those large scale infrastructure. You have to go to Ministry of Infrastructure. But I believe the starting point of doing community development for this small scale infrastructure, go to the resources that you have available. Ask those hard questions that you need to ask. Village leaders, community leaders, youths, step up. Ask your elders, why do we need this kind of investment? Are we doing it right? Have we consulted members of the community? Because so many times we don't think of, okay, we build a bridge, we don't install a solar light. How will women access it in the night? How will men access, some person with disability access it in the night? It's not going to be safe for crossing. People will try to cut their livelihood short. Instead of coming back from the farm at 6:30, 5 o'clock. They could have used that 1.5 hour more productively because there's no solar light and they're at risk of sexual exploitation. Conversations worth having. Let's have these conversations now. We are in an era that our generations have gone past of the stigma that was associated to talking about these things openly. We are past that. Let's take that to our, let's put that under our arms and let's grow those conversations with people.
Sa totoo ako ti. Pinaka makalibo Dr. Sivendra Michael kami maraw tak valib. Nanumula kami ni kuwa au klan ni sa mbong chungko mitong kita maraw tak makalib kami babin binaka. Baliw bigam ni Dr. Sivendra nanamu sulit to nanamu ngonay. Minta may bitano lib sarang kami bulida. So many of our listeners just wanted to say how they've really acknowledged what you have shared with us. Even one of our ladies here and the Kelerambokini Namborisi. I think she's also doing her PhD in Fiji. So I think she fully kind of agree with what you just said about community, the resilience, and all of that you've just shared. And it's really good that you work in those spaces and you're challenging the status quo. And I think that's really important, that we don't just kind of passively follow what has been done 10, 20 years ago. As I really like what you said there, you have to be proactive in planning things that are kind of done in a more smarter way. Like as you said, rather than having 20 households with 20 water tanks, they can just have one big one that is well protected, it's well secured, and it's safe for everybody. So thank you so much for sharing those words with us.
Yeah.
Nak sebenarnya tu vamo di talaka viosia si do vambulakin sebenarnya ngole.
No, I think I've said enough. I just hope that that this conversation that we are having, and colleagues that listening in, it's good to disagree to some of these points. It's very valid, because you're only going to create more natural conversations about what is good development in your perspective. Nito wakasama taka na good development may UN, and andun sa nga wekem do. Andun may nakoro, and andun may nayasayasa nito model ito talaga nangunango ito chiko may tonga. We are learning from others. We do not say we come with the best model. Our best model is evolving model. Ito na lako may na come with the community, we learn from them. We are also constantly thinking of things that we didn't think about. Kito nito community leaders sa kerkerwe kem do sara ni lako may do na project do project pepa kem do zaka do project pepa wakasama taka kede na bimbin do ya zabi nito marama nito ngase balitason nango nakitundo wakasama taka nga may zakavangan na project may roni tig box may sa chiko nito community hall, sa chiko nito water tank nangunango gito may wakasama taka kaya wakay nadakabando na community project. It's not only about money. It's we have to start trying to tell the people that are coming to do development that you need to consider all the aspects of risk. And the reason why I'm emphasizing is this is my background, and this is like I said, we are learning in these spaces. We are not experts, and I will never say that in Pacific our context differentiates. Ito maybe we are different within the province. We do things differently. We need to appreciate that, and we need to learn from that experience. Just remember, we all come from humble beginnings. Those humble beginnings will really take us far if we always acknowledge that and let our community leaders rightfully point out what they are thinking, and don't challenge them, but offer your perspectives, because this generation, you have access to internet and you have access to learnings, you have access to watching content that makes a lot of sense to you. Provoke those thoughts, think those questions, and ask those questions. Ask with your parents. My 9-year-old asks me all the time, why do you spend so long in the computer when something can happen to you? I will have no daddy. And I always tell myself, if a 9-year-old can ask me that question, I better start realizing about my well-being as well, right? So I guess it's, gone are the times where the kids will hold back. Now the kids will ask you, why are you building that house when you know that this place is going to get flooded? Let's listen to them and try and, have a Talanoa around it. Talanoa is the way to go. It makes things more meaningful for me. And I'm grateful, Dr. T, for this opportunity to Talanoa with our Vanua and the people from back home and all around the world on our perspectives of what development in a risk or changing risk landscape should look like. Pacific leaders and Pacific young people, we know that we are at the forefronts of climate change. These are conversations we should have quite genuinely with the young ones, with the old ones, with your own peers. And hopefully one day I can share with you about my COP experiences and
Yeah.
my frustration in these
So that can be
spaces.
our topic next week, eh?
Yeah.
Na madam minggo bikum ni na barong chukumay na listal mo Dr. Sivendra Michael sigo mo niti ngono batangango na lima na kaloko na ngono may biti na may talno tel chikino ko weekend na gaywasia ko weekend na COP meetings lebo na meeting ikundo la ko kin sa lebo sar na bese burubura ndo sa gilis nga mikino ko may chipita nang talno ta ko weekend na singo mo niti mama ko tumay pinakabalib sar Dr. Sivendra lolom sar to ni bale buitonga me adobo nang una kataraba darong kay siya matalama domingo.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for listening, colleagues. And please, if you have any questions, feel free to message me or just put it on the comments and we can pick it up from there next week. Malo, aupito, pinakabaliw.
Sabi na mundo nakabaliw sa Dr. Sivendra lolom sa rin bali bikim do kede may Nuku'alofa darong kay soto na domingo. Mata. Laka. Made. Sa rong pinakadina na ni Robi Talanoa kay Dr. Sivendra Michael siya matinggo ko may Nuku'alofa na korturanga kay Tonga. Maratak sarbali bu ni Semra Moko ya buloti may tilakay buli talaga ko na Indian College ko sa general chunggo buloti talaga mo ko na University ni Deva laki bauti talaga ko na non koroni buku ni masters kay na PhD na University of Auckland may ni Silandi. Vabi di pinakabali ko ni silito ko na nanguna ko bitar tar nga may biyaw no nangandre mikro may bital no tu no nakadaka ndola ka do talita kabali ko no kuno ko tokkati au binakatoy me Oceania na talno men paleta ni baktora taki me kuni rando labeti chuknga na itukutuk me birna bulangi era ngole main na nantapuna ni Pasifika lebu nangor do revira takitunga na wira na babalangi kela ko may Amerika sila ko may Australia sila ko may New Zealand bakan tanto warong at tunga nakara may tukuna iya dasi kan kila ni kachung go Dr. Sivendra limu tanga nakain tanto mera kan kila chungo ken kambimbi menda sulit talanga na nanda kila na buku ni kena raka na biweti kena bitu kutuku so ngan revi me ose na nanda duiti kutiko kaya na bune ngol chumiki na Dr. Sivendra Michael mikro do bital no na vesi nga moniti nakabali sara na nangay so tiko ni mata ka dotal chuna nanda bulan do kai siang buke lulu no kay bitera kay na na itala no ko membalati tiko na sole kaya po bikum ni sa kilacho na turangan ko o turangan ni Ibono Batu o sebi tukana may talno tiko bikenda na singa buke lulu waru na kaloka na bonga o sapa mo ni bikum ni kansar me dobro ngono kataraba ni mata